I'm Shane Somerville. I'm the Academic Chair for Business Programs in Accounting and Payroll. And I want to welcome you all. Thank you for joining us tonight. With me are a few of the coordinating instructors from around the various campuses. We have Robert Briggs joining us from Moncton. We have Cindy Mason from St. Andrews. And the illustrious Toby Grant from Woodstock. Okay, so we'll go through a PowerPoint presentation with you. And as we go through it, you're welcome to ask questions. You can join us in the chat if you have questions, if you're comfortable. This session is for you to make sure you understand and what we have to offer. We're very proud of our graduates at NBCC and a long history of satisfying every employer's request and meeting their demands. So we're pretty excited. I think you've made a great choice coming to NBCC, and I hope you enjoy the session tonight, get your questions answered to the best of our ability. Okay, so I'm going to start up the PowerPoint slide, and I'll go through one or two of the first slides, and then for the most part, it'll be our instructors that will answer your questions and go through the slide deck. Okay. Okay, so again, I want to welcome everybody. It's the class of 2022 for accounting and payroll, and the class of 2023 for business administration. On the various 6 campuses, we have business admin at each of our campuses across the province. There is a note there in the public chat. Please introduce yourself. Feel free to add whatever you like to the chat message. Okay, so on the agenda, I went through the brief introductions, and again, welcome to NBCC. And there's a link here to all of our programs. We have accounting and financial management. We have marketing, management, and insurance and risk for business administration. So 5 different programs. They're all 2-year programs. And we have the accounting and payroll administration, a 1-year program. Some of the program technology requirements that you might be wondering about, if you, maybe I'll just bring this over. This is the link here. This will take you to NBCC's page, and we have technology requirements listed. And then there is a minimum specification for your laptop. All of our programs are live programs, so there is an expectation that you arrive with a laptop. And that laptop should be a multi-core, so something like an i5 or an i7, running Windows 10 with 8 gigs of RAM. There's a note here for 250 gig or plus solid state drive, or an SSD. I think that's pretty common in laptops today. You don't need a DVD drive. You should have wireless and preferably a network interface, like a gigabit interface. You also require a webcam and headphones, a microphone, that sort of thing for our online delivery. Okay. There's a note here about software requirements. We do provide Office 365 to all of our students. And so software is provided. You will have all of the Office suite, and any additional software that you need is provided from NBCC. Some of the important dates in the academic calendar. Classes do begin on September 7th. The academic calendar itself, if you're looking for it, is posted online. And go here. If you do any search in Google and look for NBCC academic calendar, you'll find it. You can also go to our NBCC site, and you'll see academic calendar 2021-2022. And you open that up, it'll list the summer term. And then in the fall, and there is a note here that the first day of classes is September 7th. Each term is identified, and along with when tuition's due, end dates, and whatnot. Okay, so you should take a look at that, and there will be information sent out to you beforehand We do have an orientation for the first couple of days when students start in the fall. And we do have a blended delivery plan, so there will be some on campus and some online courses. So we'll provide information, and you'll have access to Brightspace, and there'll be links in there to how your orientation will be provided, depending on whether you're on campus or online during that first period. There are 3 terms in our delivery. So there's a 4-month term in the fall, followed by a winter term through January and April. And then in the spring, there's a short 2-month term. So many universities and colleges have 8 months of delivery. We offer 10. So students begin in September and we run right to the end of June. 10 months of delivery. There is an academic program delivery link here as well. This outlines that we do have a blended delivery in the fall. And if I open that again, this is what the link will open up to. It lists all of the different programs and whether they're blended or if they're on campus for the fall and winter terms. All of the business programs are blended. It's 2 to 3 days on campus, and your other courses would be the opposite days. It'd be online delivery. So you'll either have all online for a day or all on campus for a day. Okay, so that's the first set of information. I'm going to turn it over to Cindy next for the next slide for College Preview Day.
Thank you very much, Shane. So welcome to everybody to the NBCC family. We think you have made a great choice. I'm going to talk about how we support you initially at NBCC, and I would like you to know that we are committed to providing a safe, inclusive, and flexible learning environment for all of our learners. We realize that many of you are coming from different provinces, different countries, different backgrounds. Some of you are joining us from industry. You're returning to school to retool, to upskill. Some of you are joining us directly from high school. Some of you are joining us from other post-secondary programs. We realize, regardless of your experience and your background, transitioning to post-secondary and a new program can be difficult and challenging, and we want to let you know that we are here to support you in every way. And I just want to go through some of the resources that we have very quickly. We will be distributing a PDF of this afterwards with clickable links, so you can visit any of these that you may be interested in, and also, of course, ask us any questions. So the first is counseling and career services. So we realize that our students are managing academic challenges, financial challenges, career challenges, and family challenges. And the reason this is listed first is we realize that we really want to support your well-being, all aspects of your well-being. Our counseling services are very flexible. They range from email support services to one-on-one counseling to short-term peer-based counseling, as well as other channels of accessibility, which include our mindfulness application and other resources for you. Also, we think is equally important are our library services. So NBCC offers a wealth of subscribed resources. You pay for these with your fees. So these are resources you can use for all of your projects and your classes. In addition to those, we provide curated resources that are organized by your program of study. In your case, it would be business administration. We also provide information on how to avoid plagiarism, how should you cite properly, and we also offer learning circles on essential skills such as writing, math skills. Additionally, there's also a resource there where you can contact a librarian for an email interchange and then even a consultation should that be required. Next, I want to talk about academic coaching and learner services. So some of you may have had accommodations at a previous post-secondary institution, or at your high school, we think it's very important that we provide a flexible and inclusive environment for all of our students. This is where you will find out about the individual accommodations being offered at NBCC. I would suggest, if you have had academic accommodations in the past, that you take a look at this site in order initially to self-identify and check out resources that we have pre-term for transitioning to NBCC and ensuring that your accommodations are in place. Again, with our commitment to offering a safe and inclusive environment for all of our students, we have a very active Indigenous student advisor team. There is an Indigenous student advisor on every campus to assist Indigenous students with any questions they may have and to help facilitate your journey through your NBCC program. Additionally, we offer tutoring support and learning circles. We have an online free My Tutor link that you can access for up to 3 hours of tutoring. Also, through our library services, we offer learning circles for students. We also do offer peer-to-peer tutoring, but in the virtual environment, this is now offered on a case-by-case basis. Second, we also offer student life connections. So for those of you that have been involved in extracurriculars or co-curriculars, either at your high school or at another post-secondary institution, you can continue that here at NBCC. There's a student union that is local to each of our 6 campuses, and then the president and the vice president of those student unions come together to form the NBCC Student Union, focusing on student activities. You'll see the student union very visible when you're involved in orientation on your first 2 days of classes. And then many connections to community resources are offered, not the least of which being connections to our entrepreneurial resources and opportunities for experiential learning, both through our OASIS program and through our Entrepreneur in Residence. Any questions in the chat? I think we can go to the next slide, Shane. I also want to talk a little bit about program expectations and academic tools. So you are coming into a new program and there are lots of supports. I wanted to talk a little bit about how we communicate with you and profile getting ready for class with respect to your software. So check your email often. We'll be communicating with you via email. We'll be providing information. Make sure that you are checking the email that you use to register with NBCC, because that is the email we will be using to communicate with you. Check your junk folder. Sometimes it will be in there, and our suggestion could be you might also want to just set up an NBCC folder and keep all our emails in there. Make sure you read them to the end and respond to any action items you may see in those emails, so you will be receiving those throughout the summer. The second would be our student self-service portal. So the student self-service portal that we call SIMS tells you about everything you. It's where you're going to find your grades. It's where you're going to find your schedule. It's where you're going to find everything about finances, where you'll be able to pay things. One of the things that is very important about SIMS is you will need to set up your account so that you can get in and access things. So when you receive that email about activating your NBCC account, make sure that you go in and do it so that you can see payments owed and you can see your course schedule. You can get into Brightspace, which I'm going to talk about next. So we use something at NBCC that we call a learning management system. It's really like a website for your course. Some of you may have used Blackboard, some of you may have used Moodle. You'll have 2 types of learning management systems that you'll have access to. You'll have access to one for every course. Your course information will be there, your course outline will be there, all of your assignments will be there, your links to classes will be there. Basically, everything about the course you're taking will be there. We also have a learning management system for your school, which is the School of Business, Hospitality, and Tourism, and that will have general information. So there are two course sites. So there are two learning management sites. One is a series of course sites, and the other is our school site. Any questions about that? So finding success. We are all here to help you on your journey to success at NBCC. And these are just some things that we thought as a team that we would talk about initially. Classes will begin on day 1, meaning that on the first day after Labor Day, Tuesday, September the 7th, there will be some onboarding and there will be some orientation activities, but it's very advisable to have your textbooks and your software ready and in place. Shane, I wanted to ask you, do we know how we're going to be notifying students about their textbook lists yet? Have we decided?
It'll be via email. It'll be a PDF with the links to the e-texts or the text that you can buy at the bookstore.
Okay, so you'll know in advance. We suggest that you make sure that you take a look at those textbooks and have them on hand. Think a little bit about your own work time vis-a-vis the instruction. So you will see different methods of instruction for different courses. Some may be in class, as Shana said. Some will be virtual classes. Some will be guided work activities. Some will be sending you to do some self-directed work on a publisher site. There will be a combination of instructional techniques that we will be using with your courses. So think about those and how you will manage those, and your instructor will go over those on the first day with you. Think about your workload and your homework. So my rule of thumb typically is for every 1 hour of scheduled time, I'm probably looking at maybe 1 hour of prep. And when you start the course with your instructor, make sure that you ask your instructor about the time inputs required, because your instructor will be very clear about the time that you should expect to put into your coursework. Coordinating instructors. So I'm a coordinating instructor. Shane was a coordinating instructor before he became our chair. Toby and Rob are all coordinating instructors. We're another level of support to help you with academic advising. We'll be sort of looking from above to see how you're doing in your program. And if we see any concerns or feel that we should be speaking with you, we will actually reach out to meet with you to help you to achieve success during your time here at NBCC. I talked a little bit about peer tutoring, that for the fall term will probably be on a case-by-case basis, but it is available. Intensity will grow each term. So many of our courses build on each other. So it's very important when you start your first term and you're taking those fundamental courses that you prepare yourself with those core concepts so that you can move on to the courses that build on those in the next term and in your subsequent year. And not only that, you will find that the learning is integrated between your courses. And I think that's a really beautiful aspect of our program. You'll start to see how your learning comes together as early as your second term. Our enrollment process is a block process. So you may have heard at other post-secondary institutions, you're waiting in line to get into the course of your choice. That's not the way it works here. We enroll students as a group. And we think this has many benefits because you're working along the same schedule. We can work with each other to coordinate course delivery. And not only that, you have the benefit of getting to know the same group of students as you work through the program. Other program-specific tips for academic success. What can I say? Get to know your instructor. We are one of your greatest resources. Your coordinating instructors will also be reaching out to get to know you to see how we can help you along your academic journey. Anything anybody wants to ask? The chat.
There were a couple of questions about MacBooks, and we've answered those, I think, through the chat there now. We do have Shivani, I believe, is asking about able to access your Brightspace, and you won't be able to access Brightspace until you actually are enrolled in the courses, which will happen the day that you start in the fall. About the week before, it'll show up as in your schedule will be there and stuff, but getting into the actual Brightspace course won't be available until day one, okay? But in Sims, which Cindy alluded to at the beginning, that's where you will be able to find your schedule ahead of time, okay?
Yeah.
Hopefully that answers that question.
And you may find some instructors may have their Brightspace course site available a little earlier.
Yes, that is possible.
Yeah. So I'm going to turn this over to the very capable Robert Briggs to talk about the business administration curriculum.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about courses, because that's what everybody signed up for, right? You want to make sure you're prepared on day one to enter this fall and have an idea on the courses that you're going to take. So what we've put here on this slide is just kind of an idea of the courses you'll take by term. So you'll notice at the top it shows fall, September to December, and then there's a list of courses underneath of it. When you come in the fall, you will be taking those courses first, okay? But this is just kind of a list generally of what you'll be taking throughout the year. So just to give you an idea on how the program works, you're in business administration accounting. You may have selected your area of focus as being accounting, marketing, management, insurance and risk management, or financial management. You've been admitted into one of these programs at NBCC. So for your first term in the fall and in your second term in the winter, all of the programs take the exact same courses. Okay, so for right from the beginning, right until the end of April, you will all take the exact same courses no matter which one of the program areas you're focusing on. Okay. In the fall term, we follow what's called a 7-1-7 model. So we will have 7 weeks of instruction. Then you will have a 1-week period where it's called Student Success Week. And you'll use that time to catch up on some sleep, to recharge and get refocused for the next 7 weeks, potentially get caught up on some assignments and other things that you got a little behind on, or maybe are due near the end of the term. You can get ahead of things. And then you'll have another 7 weeks of instruction in the second half of the term, as we call it. So for some of these courses like applied writing, you may only take that for 7 weeks. And then in the second 7 weeks, you would take maybe business law as your second course in that term. The accounting course, the math course, the marketing principles, those courses are a little bit larger, so they tend to run the whole term. So you'll take them from fall, right from September, right through until December when we finish at the winter break, the Christmas break. Okay, so at any given point, you're not taking all these courses at one time. We make it so that you have about 5 courses at a time in that fall term, and that makes it a little bit easier for you as far as number of courses to manage throughout the term. Books for these courses, Cindy has alluded to that, Shane's alluded to that as well, as the bookstore stuff. You'll get a notification ahead of time in probably mid to late August. That email will come out showing you what books you're going to buy for each one of these courses for the fall term. We do not give you the book list for the whole year. Okay, so this is terms courses. You're not going to get a book list that has all of the year's courses or books on it. We do it term by term just to make sure you're not buying books too far in advance and you're budgeting yourself a little bit better throughout the year. Do make note though, typically if you buy a book for accounting for the fall, it's the same accounting book for the whole year. So you only have to buy one accounting book. Math, same thing. You buy one math book for the whole year. Marketing would be the same kind of idea. So some of these courses that extend over multiple terms, you buy one book and it does you the whole time. So yeah, so in the winter term, you'll see that there's a few courses listed there. Again, there always is a writing type course in the first term, and then there's another one that follows it up in the winter term. Accounting, same kind of idea. We build upon the basics of accounting from one term to the next, and you need to be successful with the first term courses in order to be able to move on to the next term courses. Typically, they're prerequisites for the next term. So you'll notice that the number of courses is less in the winter term. That's because some of the courses like accounting will actually increase in the number of hours and the things that you're going to focus on. So it gets a little bit more difficult in the winter term, adding more concepts. So it takes up more time. So you have less courses to take in the winter term. That brings us to the spring. When you get into the spring term, that's when you're going to determine which area of focus you are going to stay in. So some of you decided right from the get-go, you applied for business administration accounting. And I chose accounting because I'm an accountant and that's the area that I teach in all the time is accounting and payroll. So I'm going to go to that one. You're going to choose in the spring term, do I want to stay with accounting? Now that I've had 2 terms of intro accounting, is that really where I want to stay? I'm guessing you're going to say yes. And if it was not, then you wanted to move to one of the other programs, then you would meet with your coordinating instructor and figure out, can I move to one of the other programs? Because I've decided I don't really like this accounting thing. I want to focus on marketing. It's what I enjoy after having marketing for 2 terms. So you switch over to that. Or maybe you've signed up for management. Well, in the spring term, you will get to take a management course to start your focus in the management side. Same thing with insurance and risk. You'll take your first insurance course in the spring term. And with financial management, you'll take your first course that focuses on some areas in investments and stuff in that spring term, just so you can see, is this where I want to go? Okay. So that spring term, you'll notice there's only 5 courses there. Well, that term is only 7 weeks long. So we do cut down on the number of courses so that you're not overwhelmed and trying to do, 7 or 8 courses in a 7-week term. Okay, so we try to keep that cut down a little bit. But you'll see the way we have these listed out, you'll notice in the spring term there it says elective credit 1. That is the only course in your first year that you would get to choose the course you're going to take. If you are choosing to go management, insurance and risk, or financial management, there's a specific course, not Pacific, specific course there that you have to take. So it becomes the elective in that area, okay? And then with the accounting and marketing, there's an elective course that you would take, but it's not a required one to continue on to the next year. So it's really important to make sure that you decide by spring term which area of focus you want to be in. Because if you want to be in insurance and risk, you have to take that insurance course in the spring term. If you want to be in management, you have to take that management course in the spring term. Same thing with financial management. You have to take that course in the spring term. So it's really important to make sure you decide what you're going to do by spring term. Okay, I just had somebody put a note in there. They can't really hear me well. Am I yelling loudly enough now, or can you hear me okay, Shane? Yeah, okay. All right, so that's the first year courses. Now, the next year, there's year 2. And you focus only on what you are studying as your major. So accounting or marketing. There might be a few other courses in there to deal with writing and stuff like that. But mostly you focus on your area of study. We didn't put the second year program in here because we would like for you to focus on year 1 and get started. And then we'll figure out year 2 once you get to that spring term. Make sure that that's the elective or the area of focus you want to be in. So any questions on the BA business administration, these focus areas? Oh, Shane, good point. Thank you for putting that up there. The passing grade you need is 60% for each one of your courses. And your instructors will work with you throughout the term and you'll use the learning management software, that system Brightspace. You're going to have an idea on where you are tracking. Are you on track to make 60%? And if you're not, they're going to notify us, the coordinating instructors, and we'll have a conversation just to try to figure out how do we get you to a passing point, because we want to see everybody be successful in the program so that you can continue on with your plan of graduating and getting a job, right? Okay, let's, is there an ideal average for a grade? Well, I wouldn't say there's an ideal average. Is it better if you do better in the courses and then you're going to go on to a university after you're done at NBCC? Yes, that will help you with getting entrance and credits in another university program afterwards. But do we have employers typically come to us and ask for a copy of your transcript? No, they don't. Typically, that's not the way it works. I know that that's varies in some countries, but typically in New Brunswick, our experience here is that employers don't ask for a copy of your resume. If you go work for the federal government, it's possible that they may need to have proof that you did actually graduate, so they ask for a copy of your transcript, but they aren't necessarily looking at the grades you achieved. Okay. All right, let's move on to the next slide there, Shane, just to talk about the accounting and payroll administration program. So the Accounting and Payroll Administration program is a one-year program. I didn't say the BA program is a two-year program, which I should have, but the Accounting Payroll Administration program is a one-year program. So some of you have been accepted into that program at the Woodstock campus or the Miramichi campus for this coming fall. The Moncton campus has their start in January. So if you chose Moncton for accounting and payroll, you're not entering until January. But you'll notice that there's some similarities in the courses. The structure of the accounting and payroll course or program is similar to the first year of business administration. It has a lot of the same stuff in it. But one of the added things is in this one-year program, you get to focus on the payroll courses. So we have an agreement with the Canadian Payroll Association where you do these three courses, you achieve a 65% level from their perspective, 60% from NBCC's perspective. And then once you have done that, got a job doing payroll, got a little bit of experience, you can get some additional letters put at the end of your name where you can become a payroll compliance practitioner. So you're a little bit more of an expert in the payroll area, okay? So typically that's what people who enter the accounting and payroll, they want to do a little bit of bookkeeping, but they also want to be involved in some payroll stuff, or they just want to focus on becoming a payroll person at any business, or they want to focus on just doing the bookkeeping, but have some knowledge of the payroll in the background. Now, again, when you're looking at the courses and the number of courses in that fall and winter term, keep in mind that we do the 717 model. So 7 weeks of course, 1 week off, 7 weeks of another course. So some of these are smaller courses that run back to back. So you don't have 7 courses or 8 courses all at one time. As another note, in the fall term, you'll see orientation to service learning. That's a course in which you are learning how to go out in the community, do some volunteer work and stuff like that. And that's a required item. It's not a credit course, but it's required for you to do throughout your program time at NBCC. And you'll learn more about that as you get into the fall term and we talk about it a bit more. Work Safely is also a non-credit course, but in order to work and graduate, I guess, from our programs, you have to graduate with this Work Safely program that is attached to Work Safe NB's program, so that employers know that you have some understanding of how to be safe on the job. Now, in business environments, typically there's not much you have to worry about. You might get a staple in the finger every once in a while, but you're not really having to worry about super hazardous situations. So it's a very straightforward, basic work safe course. And then you'll notice there too, it says Practicum for OJT. So the Accounting and Payroll Administration in the spring term has a 4-week on-the-job training. So we will help you find an employer who's going to host you. So we typically would ask that you try to do some legwork, prepare your resume, get honed up on job search skills, that kind of stuff. And then we'll work with you to try to point you in the right direction or facilitate with an employer who's going to bring you in and host you for 4 weeks of learning experience. We call that experiential learning. And then on top of that, with the business administration, at the end of year 2, you have a 5-week on-the-job training. And I'll tell you that our students Really enjoy those opportunities, because those opportunities tend to lead into jobs. Okay, not all of them will, but some of them will lead into jobs. It gets them the experience they need, and then all of a sudden there's something that comes up in the paper or that they see online. You know, I said paper there. That's very antiquated, isn't it? But they'll see these job ads and they'll post and they'll apply for it, and because they've had the experience, they end up getting an interview and getting the job. We have a very good success rate with our OJTs, both from the accounting and payroll group and from the business administration. We're usually running over 90% success rate with our students getting jobs post-graduation, okay? Yeah, so that kind of brings us to the end of some of these courses. Are there things that you'd like to ask about some of the courses that you would take in those two programs, or are we good at this point? Maybe we'll open it up for questions at the end. I think I hit the highlights there, Shane. You can move on, I guess, to the next slide. And I think Toby's going to take it away from here, right?
Yep. Thank you, Rob. So I get to talk about the tough part. How much is it going to cost? And I don't know if it's because I'm the new guy or why I get the money slide, but anyway. All right. So let's take a look at this slide from the left. From the left to right. And in the upper right-hand corner in the yellow circle, that's where we're going to focus first. So, excuse me. The tuition for our domestic students this coming year will be $3,380. Where the tuition for our international students will be $9,468. It's important to note here that you can actually pay this in 2 equal installments, one in the fall and then another one in the winter term, which would carry you through that 3rd term that Shane was talking about earlier. So you don't have to bear that large upfront cost, if you will, because you can make payments over the course of most of the year. All right. So that's your tuition. Moving down on the left to the technology circle, your technology and learning resource fee is a total of $306. And again, this is the same. You can split that over the fall, between the fall and the winter terms equally for $153 each. So it's not a large upfront cost there for you. And to expand just a little bit on the books and materials, I know we've touched a little bit on that. So for the books, it's a pretty broad range there. It goes between $800 and $2,800. And the reason for this is because, as we've already talked about, we have both 1- and 2-year programs. So depending on the program you're in, your books and material costs can be very different. And as I think Rob talked about, your book fees only come due as you need the books. So again, this cost isn't all up front at once, but it's important to note that depending on how long you're with us and the type of program that you're in, your books and material costs can vary quite a bit. And Rob's going to talk a little bit about why that may be at the end as well. Your student union fee is $55, and that's actually both in the fall and in the winter term. So it's not just $55 in total, it's actually $110 in total. I just discovered that before we started our call, so I apologize for that. And that's collected on behalf of and for your student government. So it's important that you support your student union through the fees and the services that they provide you there. Under health and dental, that total cost is $265 in all, which is charged in full at the beginning of the year. And of course, that covers you for health and dental. But it's important to note here, too, because I went through this with my own son a couple of years ago. If you're a young student and you're already covered under your family's health insurance policy, you can actually get this waived. You can talk to the administration about this, but just know that if you're already covered, you don't have to pay for it twice. But we do offer it for folks that don't have health and dental coverage. And lastly, down in the lower right-hand corner is the payroll fees associated with the accounting and payroll program. So I'm going to hand it back to Rob to talk about this a little bit more. And that is it for me on my single slide. And thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Toby. Okay, so with the payroll fees, what happens there is that you actually are enrolled. Remember I said that the accounting and payroll program, when they take those 3 payroll courses, we have an association with the Canadian Payroll Association. we have an association with. We have an agreement with the Canadian Payroll Association to where you are enrolled with NBCC taking the course, but you are also enrolled with them. And I am actually one of the instructors that teach the payroll courses as well. So you actually get me kind of like a twice for one fee. That's weird kind of scenario. So I teach you the payroll courses, and there's a couple of instructors who do it as well. But you're enrolled with both of us at the same time. It includes your textbook cost. Okay, so that $400 approximately per course. It's $391 this year. It could go up to $400 in January, but I don't think it's going to happen. So for $391, you get access to a textbook that they will mail to you. They give you the electronic textbook as well. And you also get online platform learning with where we actually host and do all of the coursework. So it's a very good price for that. And then on top of that, once you take all those 3 courses, you're going to end up with a certification at the end when you get some experience in payroll. Yeah, so just keep in mind that $400 per course that's included in that slide, it's actually also included in the books and materials number that's up in the left hand there in the other blue. That's why they're both color coded the same way. The book cost has the $400 per course built into it as well, okay? But we thought we should make note that if you take any payroll courses, you pay an additional fee for those. And in the business admin accounting stream, you may end up choosing that as an elective course. It's not required in that program, but you may choose those 3 payroll courses then as well, okay? So I think that moves us on to the next slide there, Shane.
So that's the end of the content that we have. We'll open it up to questions now. So you have questions about your books or laptops, your first day class, or anything else?
And maybe at this point, if people wanted to unmute their mic and ask a question, you can do that as well. If you wanted to, come on your camera and say hello, we'll allow that to occur, I think.
There's actually a good question. I think it's George asked, are families covered under the insurance? Do you guys know that? I don't know that.
That's where I would be coming in to answer those questions.
Thanks.
Thank you.
So for the international insurance coverage, there's 2 types of insurance coverages. One is what Toby showed in the slides, which is for health and dental. And another one is called gardening insurance. Because for international students, when you first initially land in this province of New Brunswick, you don't have a provincial Medicare yet, which is you are eligible to apply for as international students who are studying here. However, because you don't have it initially, and some students do not intend to apply for it, even if it's free. So we do ask our students to purchase a mandatory insurance coverage for any emergency related cost cover. So for example, that if you do say fell down and break your arm and needs to go call ambulance and go to the hospital, take an x-ray, and those are considered as emergency medical coverage, and that'll be covered by your gardening insurance. Then if you want to, let's say to test your vision and get a pair of glasses or if you do need to go see a dentist and either doing a cleaning or let's say get your teeth checked, that will be covered by your dental and health insurance. So those are questions that you can definitely come on to frequent hosted webinars that we have at the international side, and we will be better to address those questions for you. And I will include that link to the registration to those webinars sessions and in the chat.
Okay, so there's a couple of questions there about skipping some of the fees if they're doing the online study for the fall term, full online study, Shane. So I'm not sure how that would work. Lucas might know a bit better.
Yeah, so for tuition cost, of course, it would be the same, and the quality of the delivery and the program itself does not change regardless of the method of the delivery. And for your insurance, and for depends on which insurance are we talking about. For the health and dental, the coverage is across the globe, so you cannot opt out unless you have equivalent coverage already. And for the gardening insurance, because the coverage is only excluded within Canada. So if you are actually at your home country, you are not actually eligible for that insurance. So we do opt you out if you are studying outside of Canada.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there others who have questions? Or?
Hi, my internet's not the best, but I thought that you said that the payroll fees included a textbook cost?
Yes, so when you pay the $400, what will happen on that course is when you come to class on the very first day, we will give you a form that you will fill out. You'll give it back to the instructor. We'll send that in for processing directly, and you'll get the textbook and all the resources included in that $400 cost. Okay.
What if I'm buying all of my textbooks used? Do I still have to buy that in the full
I'm glad.
400?
I'm very glad that you asked that question. First, yes, the payroll, you cannot buy them used because the payroll information gets updated every year. As you know, with Canada Revenue Agency, the government, the federal government, they change the percentages and all that stuff on an annual basis, and there's things that become new. So every year they have to be brand new. You can't buy used payroll stuff. But keep in mind with used textbooks, you want to be careful that you check with your course instructor first about whether you should or should not buy a used textbook, because most of the textbooks have an online component and a code that comes with it. And if someone used those books and those codes the year before, you can't use those codes again, which means you might not be able to get full access to the information you need. Okay, so you want, so before you buy used textbooks, make sure you check with your course instructor first. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
George has a question about, Justin has a question. Do we have recommendations for students wanting to prepare for September? Anything we can do over the summer? Any suggestions on the fees?
Well, other than make sure you get some rest because it's going to be fast flying through the fall. No, really, I don't know about preparing for courses for the fall. Maybe, get yourself a good calendar that you can keep track of information in. If you took some time management skills stuff, some of those online webinars over the summer, that could be helpful. For the BA accounting, oh, there's some other questions that are popping up here as well. I'm not sure, Cindy, you think of anything that is helpful to get ready for the fall?
I think have a good rest, enjoy your summer, make sure that you're up and ready to go for the first day of classes and that you really get involved in those onboarding and orientation activities and make some really great virtual connections.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, so there's lots of questions popping up here. I just noticed one from Anna about how many different instructors. If you're taking 5 courses at a time, it's entirely possible that you could have 5 different instructors. That it just depends on what program you're in and what courses you're taking at the time. Generally, you'll have 4 or 5 different instructors in a term, though. But it could be that you have the same 4 or 5 instructors the next term as well. Okay, so you get to know them throughout, and the instructors get to know you throughout your 2 years of program or 1 year of program as well. Thank you for asking about the typical school day. We talked about courses, but our general schedule would be classes happen between 8:30 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time and 5:30 p.m. Atlantic Standard Time. Okay, so usually in that range is when your classes are going to happen. But sometimes you could have breaks during the day where you don't have classes scheduled. Okay, so typically classes are 1 or 2 hours long. In the way that it's looking for this fall, you might have 2 to 4 hours of classes, have a break for an hour, and then have another 2 to 4 hours of classes or work periods. And then the same thing happens the next day. Okay, Monday to Friday is our normal school week. Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5:30. That's when your range of classes will occur. So if you want to get a part-time job in the evenings and on the weekends, feel free. Just don't let it interfere with your schoolwork, okay? You're paying all this money to come back and get school and get education. Don't let work interfere if you can. I know some of you will have to work, but try to do the best you can.
Mona Lynn has a question for us. For students enrolled in virtual class, is there anything that we need to do prior to the first day of classes that requires us to visit the campus? The thing I could think about is purchasing some textbooks if they're not digital textbooks. Anything else you can think of?
No, I guess your student ID may not be mailed out to you. There will be an email that will come from the student union group that will give, or actually it'll come from student services, but it'll have information in there about these are the things you need to pick up from the campus. Textbooks would be one of them, student ID. There may be a welcome package of some kind to welcome you to NBCC that you might need to stop by and pick up. But other than that, no, there's not usually a lot of things to pick up from campus, okay, unless you're attending classes, that kind of thing.
There's one other, I've been corresponding with Tashi in the chat there too, and I'll just bring this up for everybody. The question was, should there be a specific computer or software that we should be looking at before we come? I don't think you'll find anybody would recommend one computer over the other. Just make sure that your computer, whichever it is, whatever brand it is, it meets the minimum requirements listed underneath our technical requirements on our website. That would be the big thing. Plus, for software, a lot of people don't know this, but when you become a student at NBCC, you have access to Office 365, a version of Audacity, and some editing software called GIMP, and what's the other big one? Grammarly is another big one too. So I would say don't buy Office before you come to class because you already get access to it. That's another big one, and I know some students do that before they come, and it's a big cost. So just wanted to raise that.
It's a good point, Toby, because we do have people who buy the software and then they find out they didn't need to.
Yeah.
And typically you are going to get an email from IT services a couple of weeks before school starts that says, here's the next steps. You need to go and activate your account. You need to download this. You need to install this. And it goes step by step. And they have links to videos on YouTube that show you exactly how to go through all those steps. So you don't need to, if you're not super technical with the computers, and then you notice I said the computers in there because that's my generation. We'll get you through it. And if you don't do any of it before you come to campus, it's okay. Your instructors will talk to you about, okay, these are the things you need to do now, and we'll help you find the right spot in the building to where you can walk through it with the IT people and get it resolved. Okay, so no panicking. We'll get you there.
Yep, agreed.
Leah has a question. Can we clarify if the online term will have the same duration in time, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.? Wouldn't that depend on the structure of how the online course is being delivered?
It's actually the exact same structure as the in-person or hybrid, where we have some in-person, some online. It's the exact same courses, so it is 8:30 to 5:30. And Shane, am I correct that typically it's 8:30 to about 3:30 in the afternoon?
Yeah, so we're looking at 20 to 24 hours of contact time, so actual classroom time in the fall. So you might have 4 hours of class, then you're done in one day, but you might have 6 hours of class the next day. So the idea is that if you're online, we try to limit the amount of screen time that you have. And if you have to come into the campus, we're trying to make the best use of your time that you're on campus. So your online days might be a little shorter. Your in-class day that you arrive at campus, expect 6 hours. So it'll be 8:30 till 12:30, a 1 hour lunch break, and then again in the afternoon, a couple of hours. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you. Anyone else have a question that we have not? I'm hoping we didn't miss anything as we skim through the chat here again.
Justin has a question here and is asking about that business administration program. The expected graduation date would be June 2023.
Okay, so that is correct. If you're coming in fall of 2021, starting September, best case scenario, you finish in June of 2023 and you graduate, you get a job and you're off and running, or you move on to university or some other program after that, okay? But that may not work for everybody. So sometimes people will come in September of 2021 and it might take them an extra year to finish because they're working a part-time job or whatever it might be. So if you shoot for the finish in 2 year, great. But if you know, after your first year, you're finding that it's a bit too much or you need to do something else because life happens to everybody, just talk to your coordinating instructor and we'll figure out a plan for you. Okay, because we want to see you be successful, whether it takes 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. We've had people take 6, 7 years and just spread it out. Okay, so it's possible to do.
Rob, Benjamin has a question about campus parking. Does he have to pay for it? Would that depend on which campus he's at?
I think it does.
Yeah.
If you're in Moncton, you get free parking. It's like
Woodstock
Boardwalk
too.
in Moncton. Woodstock, St. Andrews, I think are
Yep.
free. Is St. John free, Shane?
St. John is free. So all the NBCC parking lots are free. The Fredericton campus is on the UNB grounds. And so
Right.
UNB owns that parking lot and you would have to pay for parking there. Yeah. Good question.
It is. I never had anybody ask it before in one of these, but is there OJT upon reaching the second year? Yes, and there is an on-the-job training. You'll see different terminology for that depending on who you speak to. I've been around long enough now that it's OJT, Applied Workplace Experience, Work Practicum, Work Integrated Learning. There's 4 different words for the same thing. So yes, at the end of year 2 in the spring term, there is a 5-week on-the-job training for all of the business administration programs. Okay, so that you can look forward to that at the end of the 2-year time frame.
Yes, and to add to that, we often embed experiential learning activities in many of our courses prior to that, specifically our project management course. So we have seen students move on to practicum opportunities for organizations and companies that they've already done projects for, which is a really great outcome.
Right. So Justin has asked about campus cafeteria. That depends on which campus you go to again. So if you're in Moncton, we actually have a lot of culinary programs that operate in the Moncton campus as well. So there is a cafeteria. The St. Andrews campus has a cafeteria because they have culinary programs going there. St. John, do you have a cafeteria?
We have a cafeteria, but it's not serviced in the same way as Moncton's because we don't have a culinary program at the campus.
Right.
But there's a cafeteria. Yeah.
Okay. And
Same
then same in Woodstock, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And Fredericton, they have a space for students to eat, but because they're on the UNB campus, they can actually go to the UNB Student Union building, it's called the sub building, and they can eat lunch there. There's a cafeteria on campus at UNB as well, or they can go over to St. Thomas and eat in the cafeteria there. There's lots of options. That is one advantage to the UNB Fredericton NBCC campus, they've got a few more options. Anna's asked about what would a BBA degree from university after this 2-year program do for me? What other avenues would that take a person down? So are you thinking, Anna, the accounting program or just any of the programs?
Okay, mine would be the management program.
Okay, so we actually have articulation with many schools after you're done at NBCC, and some of them would be considered a 2+2 scenario. So you do 2 years with us and you continue on, do 2 years with another institution, and you get your degree. And now it may not be called a BBA, but it would be a 4-year degree of some kind. Some other institutions, it might be you have to do 2 years plus a couple extra courses with them to get your degree. It really kind of depends on the avenue you want to go. With the management one, there's lots of options there for other universities to continue on as well. Some employers do look for you to have a business degree, but that's not always the case. And I'll throw in a suggestion here that if you do 2 years with NBCC and you get a job using the skills that you have learned at NBCC and all of the studies you've done, and then you ask your employer, hey, I'd like to continue and get further education, there's a possibility that your employer would pay for some of those courses for you to continue on and do a degree while you're working. So they pay for the stuff, or they pay half of it, or they pay a portion of it for you. So it might be a cheaper option for you long term. That's what a lot of accounting students do, because that's the direction I often tell them is, if you can get something for free, take it.
I have another question to add on to that.
Sure.
So where I've already had, say, previous life experience, I've already had, a different career and different jobs and stuff. Would any of that be accounted as a skill set with my 2 years of schooling, or?
Yes, that's possible. You're not looking to get credit for courses, though,
No.
with using your life experience. Okay.
Yeah.
But yes, all of that, I mean, anything that you've done in your life is going to build and add to your skills and abilities somewhere, right? So yes, absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
There's a question there about practicum too. I'll just address that, and you guys can add on to it, because I'll describe my experience with practicum. And George, if I'm pronouncing that right. And the question is, if we have to search for a company or a place to complete our practicum, strictly speaking, yes, you do. However, that being said, you'll find a lot of instructors at NBCC have a lot of business contacts, and there's always businesses reaching out to us looking for students to do practicum with them, so that we have a great relationship with the business community in the communities that we work in. So, like I said, the real answer is yes, you should be the one looking for the practicum, but if it came right down to it, and you had a hard time finding something, I'm sure we could help you out. We want to see all of our students go on practicum and be successful through that experience, I guess. And I think you wouldn't go without. That's been my experience. You guys can speak for your own experiences, but that's been my experience, George.
Yep. George, to add to Toby's comments, we can find many creative ways to assist you to find a practicum. So yes, we encourage you to use all those skills that you've garnered in the course you've taken about employment strategies. But yes, we are there to assist you, and we have gone in directly to facilitate in some difficult student situations and found students suitable practicums. But we're looking for you to get out there and use your initiative as well. But we're here to help.
I've been doing the practicums for a number of years now. I want to say 7, somewhere around there, for the accounting students in the accounting and payroll program as well. And there's rarely a year that goes by where we have students not able to find something. Now, this year with COVID, obviously we've had a little bit of a different scenario, but I'll give you a little perspective that with 36 students that in the spring term that needed to go to do their on-the-job training, I only have 2 that were not able to find something in their field. And actually one of them is supposed to be starting a short thing on Monday of next week. Hopefully that goes through over the next couple of days. So that's pretty good in the situation we're in. And typically we're 100%. Everybody has something. There'd be the odd year that you have one person that might not have something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great, and we're right on time. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us to today's College Review Preview Day session with the Business Administration and Accounting and Payroll Administration programs. And once again, this particular session is recorded and will be shared on the landing page of the week of June 7th. If you do have following questions that we will address, I will stay on a little bit and address those questions at the best of my ability. And if not, thank you so much for joining us tonight or this morning for those who are at a different time zone. And thank you so much once again to join our College Preview Day event. And we're looking forward to welcome you this fall.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.